Well, there are reports that Sydney is facing a shortfall of at least 134,000 dwellings over the next 5 years. Joining us live now, the Executive Chairman of Yellow Brick Road Home Loans, Mark Bouris. Mark, good to see you as always. So this number, is it about higher or lower than what you expected it would be? And it's, I suppose, only going to worsen.
Well, it's where everybody sort of expected it to be, and the question is how are we going to increase the supply of new dwellings to match up the population increase, for example, that we're getting in Sydney as a result of the new immigration policies.
Yeah, and interesting that our chat today coincides with this plan that the Prime Minister wants to try and make a deal with the states over renters' rights. And part of that is going to have to be to increase supply, which is going to be a state issue. It gets all very complex, but I mean, is he on the right path of his trying to increase supply and build our way out of this crisis, as Susan Lee just referred to?
Well, the issue is supply, and I don't know whether it's a federal government problem or a state government problem or a council problem at the local level. Definitely there is, if you talk to any property developer, they'll tell you, and apart from the fact that interest or funding costs them a lot more today than it has done in the past, but generally speaking, any property developer who started a property development, say 5 years ago, 4 years ago, to supply today, they'll tell you the biggest problem that they have is getting their plans approved.
Yeah.
And the approval process is the thing that's holding it up, and because everybody's got an objection, and governments have to feel as though they have to deal with every single objection there is in the place. And as a result of that, we don't get enough new developments and or new dwellings. And you can't have that happened like during over the last 18 months or 2 years, and all of a sudden hit us with a huge immigration increase. Now, I understand why they did the immigration increase, got it. But at the same time, these are consequences of government policy. This has got nothing to do with landlords. It's not a landlord problem. And it's got nothing to do with renters either, the people who are trying to, on the demand side. It's got everything to do with government policy. This is another example where government policy or governments in their policy didn't look forward as to the results of the outcomes. And it's a bit like how much the Liberal government spent too much money during the COVID period, and now we've got inflation, now we've got high interest rates, and now we've got people who can't afford to stay in their homes. These are all as a result of government actions or inactions.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too? I read this report on the weekend, and it was Harry Triguboff and Merritt, and he wants to build a whole bunch of apartments in Little Bay, right? Because he says, it's been run down. There's a lot of space there. There's the prison there, etc. But it's being knocked back because some locals don't want to get it. I mean, is that an example of an idea that could well be pursued?
That's 100% a good example of it. And I'm not here to bat for Harry because Harry's got enough real estate as it is.
Yeah.
But his point is right, within reason. His point is correct. I mean, we've got to work out how we can designate how much people can build and where they can build with certainty, not just certainty as to the approval, to getting the approval, but the process and the timing. Now, someone like Harry, he's maybe have to commit $100 million to build a block of 500 apartments, whatever it is. That commitment requires certainty as to time. He doesn't want to be sitting on there for 5 years waiting for the approval to come through.
Yeah.
Or indeed go out and buy it and not get any approval. I mean, what's the point of that? And by the way, people don't want to have to go and live too far away. I mean, they want to be close to jobs. I mean, you might work at the prison, or you might work at the hospitals out there, or you might work at the golf club, but you don't want to have to travel for 2 hours from Blacktown to Little Bay to do your job. So, this is politics gone mad. I can understand why people are getting brain damage. They're saying, hang on, how come house prices have gone up so much? Well, property prices have gone up so much because we've got a lack of supply.
Yeah.
How come I can't rent a place? We can't rent a place because property supply is not there. Who's in charge of property supply? Developers are love to supply the market. I tell you who it is. It's the governments, either local or state, and probably to some extent federal too.
Yeah, OK. On the back of this, PropTrack and CoreLogic data shows the pace of property price growth is slowing. Are you buying this? Because I'm still seeing a lot of properties, more so in the eastern suburbs, though. That might not surprise you, that are still going way overs.
Well, we're looking at national numbers, and then we're looking at city numbers. So the growth in those places that are going up is outweighing the decline in those places going down. And some places like Perth are doing extraordinarily well. Adelaide's doing very well. Brisbane had a bounce. Sydney's doing really well, but only in certain areas.
Yeah.
So those average national prices that we're looking at are a little bit misleading. But I have to say this too. Westpac put out a note recently saying they expect property prices on a national level to grow by 7% in 2024. That's a big number. And it comes down to the supply that they are seeing relative to the demand. But on the other side, I've been talking to real estate agents. I have a little podcast I do. I've been talking to real estate agents in the last 2 weeks, particularly this week. And I've been told that some real estate agents, like big real estate agents in Sydney, are telling me they have got currently 3 times more the number of people signing on to sell in September than they had 1 year ago. 3 times, threefold, wow. three times the number. And because people are now getting encouraged, wow, I might get a really good price if I sell in September. I better hurry up and get it now. So they become quite enamoured about selling right now. So I wonder whether we've got to wait until September, October to see what the supply looks like.
The Mentor, good podcast, Mark Bouris. Hey, that's a nice haircut you're rocking there, brother. It looks fantastic. You just had a holiday, didn't you? You're all raring to go.
Digging it? Well, I had a holiday, but the reason I'm wearing the new haircut, is because I'm in the new studio, your new studio. Yeah. I'm the first person to be in your new CBD studios, and that's
only
awesome.
the best. Only the best for you, Mark Bouris.
Thanks,
Good to see you. We'll talk to you soon.